All right, welcome to Some Kind of Game, the podcast that explores the question that nobody asks about video games, but maybe, Jay, just maybe, Jay, you wish somebody asked you these questions. I am Justin,
I'm Jay.
and today we're here to sit down and ask those non essential questions. Today we are going to discuss Digimon games, but first, Jay, how are you doing, and what is your favorite Digimon?
So I'm doing good.
Love
Um,
to hear it.
yeah. And uh, my favorite Digimon, probably Examon. It's a Jogress Digimon, so that means like it's fused between two other Digimon.
Okay.
But yeah. It's
What,
like
what
a
does an
drag.
Examon look like if you had to explain to a 5-year-old?
Yeah, it's a dragon with like a lance.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
you love to see it.
What about you, Justin?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty busy. I was volunteered to help out with a virtual social gathering at work, and so had a lot of planning anxiety, a lot of like prep to go into it because if I'm going to put on a show, I want to put on a good show.
Hmm.
We got some gift cards approved to give away to people. It was a good time. I also streamed for the first time this week on my twitch.tv. It's I am underscore deep fried water dot at twitch.tv. It was really a little nerve wracking, but really fun. I played some good TFT and some friends dropped by. It's very wholesome. And my favorite Digimon is Gabumon. I got gifted a Gabumon figurine. I'm going to hold it up to the camera, but I'll describe it for um, the podcast listeners. So Gabumon is essentially kind of like a little gremlin Digimon. It kind of looks like a dinosaur with like a yellow dinosaur with like a purple like overcoat over like the upper body, and Gabumon has like a horn coming out. Fun fact: the if you Google Gabumon and you see a picture, that like overcoat is not part of their body. It's just like a it's just like clothing that they like get and put on. So you can actually see like a naked Gabumon, and it looks very horrifying. But yeah, I Gabumon's been my favorite Digimon ever since I got that figurine gifted. So I love to see a good Gabumon.
Dude, I also love Gabumon. I see you are a fan of uh, Gabumon's like the rivals Digimon of the first main character.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember at first I was like, dude, Gabumon sucks because I was a kid when I watched it, and I thought,
Gabumon sucks. This guy.
yeah, Gabumon sucks because because I didn't like the owner of Gabumon, because like I
So
thought he was
that
like a
means you don't like
little.
me. I'm an owner of a
No,
Gabumon.
I meant like when I was younger,
That was
Justin.
messed up.
When
All
I
right, all
was a
right,
wee lad,
all
a
right, all
wee
right.
lad. But talking about Gabumon, um, I don't know how many of you out there know this, but Digimon actually has a trading card game. Um, it's pretty fun, and I'm actually pretty into it. And one of like the more meta decks right now is Metal Garurumon. So part of the Gabumon
And this
Digivolution
is a
line.
physical trading card game, right? Because there's no digital equivalent for this trading card game.
Yeah. It is physical, sadly. I
The,
did do wish that there was a online version, because
mm,
sometimes like I get that itch to play, but like when you have an itch to play like physical card games, you can't just be like, all right, well, let me go find a place to play. To be fair, there are tournaments usually on Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, so there's a decent amount of tournaments, but I you have to find the time to go to those, and they're pretty far away from me.
it's a little confusing also because there was a previous Digimon trading card game, like another physical collectible card game,
Mhm.
and they've done so little to distinguish that previous trading card game with this because it's like the new one, the current one right now is a new rule set and new cards.
Mhm.
But they're both just called Digimon TCG. But I also want to touch upon your uh, tournament experience. Like, what was it like? Do you like how do you build how do you build your decks? What's it like playing in person?
So I haven't built like a super great deck yet, but the way I got like, if you ever want to get into it, like I would say like $40 gets you like a pretty solid deck. If even if it's $40, I don't even know. It's pretty cheap. But like what I would recommend for anybody who is like interested in getting into it, you buy a starter deck, and then you take the pieces of your starter deck and replace the ones that are bad. So usually the cards with no like inheritance effects and stuff like that. And um, yeah, so like I would say $40 gets you like a mildly competitive deck. But to be fair, a lot of the people that go to these tournaments are people who have pretty competitive decks. I've met some nice people. They like taught me how to play. They even let me win a match. That was pretty nice of them. So that was pretty good. But yeah, tournament wise,
But you would have won anyway, right?
yeah,
You would
yeah,
have won
hundred
anyway. Yeah,
percent,
yeah,
dude.
yeah,
What the
yeah, yeah.
heck? What the
Oh,
I
okay, my
only
bad.
win, dude. Only win. Only
Oh, true,
W's
true,
here.
true.
Um, and Justin, I'm not sure you know this, but you are like glowing red right now.
Oh yeah, it's my
Uh,
flux. Here, I can
uh,
fix that.
yeah, no worries. I was just mentioning it, but um, so I've been to 3 tournaments so far. My first one, they were really nice. There was only 5 of us, and they like taught me how to use my deck like properly. Uh, my second one uh, was also at the same place, and there was 6 of us, and still really fun. And this time, like I just played all the way through, and I won a match. And so, something I didn't mention is how these tournaments are like sort of played. Um,
Hmm.
it's the person. So the bigger tournaments, there's like more prizes. So for the smaller ones, it's like not as heavy prize pool related, but uh, it's always undefeated gets the like wins. So how it works is everybody's matched up, uh, and then what happens is you guys play your matches, and if you win, you only play against winners. And if you lose, you only play against losers. And then if there's odd number of people, somebody gets a bye um, from the losers bracket,
Gotcha.
and the winners keep playing until there's one person that's undefeated, and that person gets the prize. And usually, so it's $5 entry fee, and everybody gets a participation card. So it's like in a pack, and you get to open it, and it's like this, like not custom, but like it's one of like the Digimon that comes that's like an uncommon or common card, but like holographic. Uh, and so, yeah, and so when at my last tournament, I didn't end up winning any matches either. Um,
Wait,
but
this guy said all he knows is
it,
win, and then he says, "But the other time I didn't know how to win."
look, because my deck, I told, like I said,
Oh, deck
um,
diff.
deck diff. But besides deck diff, like, um, what you always need is like Yu-Gi-Oh, your deck is 50 cards. And then you have like 4 cards for like your Digi eggs. Um, and for anybody that, you know, it might sound like I'm talking gibberish, and since we didn't really explain the game. The rules are the rules are not super complicated, but the gist of it is you have like you hatch like a Digimon, and then you Digivolve it, and you can attack the person, and their life pool is like 5 cards. It's very like Hearthstone, Magic the Gathering, and like mixture. In
It's
term,
pretty. I feel like the pace is pretty fast. It feels very modern card game inspired. Where I think if you like try to flip through the rulebook for people who are like new to the game and like are trying to learn it, it might seem kind of complicated, but the motions you go through and the interactions are pretty simple.
yeah. Uh,
And so I think they did a good. It's pretty streamlined, modern card game feeling.
so you know, it is quick, but also at tournaments there are timeout rules because there are decks that are stally. Uh, so it's like what I really like about it is it feels really well balanced right now. And so there's also like different colors. So there's red, blue, black, yellow, and like blah blah blah. And they all have like different archetypes. So like yellow is like meant to be security control, and security is your life pool, and so it like lets you regenerate.
Mm.
Red is like blatant aggro. Uh, blue
So
is
like play a lot of like cards that are really more less for setup and more like do things immediately and try to overwhelm your opponent.
yeah, and it lets you like attack your opponent's life pool more than once per like a card can attack for greater than one. Um, and then like black is like heavy on defense. Like there are a lot of blocker cards um, to block your opponent from attacking. But yeah, so uh, to go back to my original point, there's like 50 cards in the deck, and usually what you want is like a good mixture. Just like Yu-Gi-Oh, there's like a version of Magic cards, um, and
Hmm.
so you want like a good mixture, and uh, there's a top end, and those top end cards are the more expensive cards, but you like need them to be competitive. And you, but what I love about it is you don't need four, like in Yu-Gi-Oh. Like you like a lot of times like you need four of that like
The same
god tier
card.
card, yeah. But a lot of the times like your deck is composed of like 90 or not 90, like I would say 46 to 48 of your cards out of your 50 card deck will be less than like $10, and the last like four to 2 to 4 cards will be like $60, and that's just how card games really are, though, right? Like because like all the sought after cards are meant to be sought after, and also they're supposed to be good and used in multiple decks. So that's sort of the same thing with this card game, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so in terms of tournament, I'm actually a loser, and I'm not catching
the
W's,
truth
but
the truth comes out at last.
but I will be going to more tournaments, and I am really enjoying it. And actually, my Christmas present to myself is I bought a box that I'm going to open on Christmas. Uh,
Oh
so yeah,
jeez, post the polls.
I will.
Um, and one thing I want to touch upon is the cards look amazing. So usually the format for physical cards that we've seen in the past from like other series, like Pokemon, for example, they have what's called like full body cards, and those cards like are saved for like the rare, more expensive cards where the art is like going. The art is like all over the card. Usually you have like a border and like 30% or so of the card is dedicated for the art. Digimon, nearly so many of the cards are like all full body art. So like even like the more common cards look sick. And so the Digimon card art I think is really cool. One last thing I want to pick your brain on, Jay, is what do you think are some of the differences between in-person card games versus digital, like pros and cons, real quick? Because I played a lot of digital card games. I have never like um, I have some Digimon physical. I have some physical cards of the Digimon
Yeah,
trading card game, but I've not been to any physical leagues. I play a lot of. I do have a background in like digital card games that I played a lot, and I like how convenient those are. But
yeah,
yeah, curious to pick your brain. Like, what's your perspective on it as someone
yeah.
who's played the physical one?
Yeah, just to go back really quick on the art style, I mean, it's what got me into the card game. Like,
Oh
uh,
right,
yeah, so like only the spell cards, spell cards is just I think more people know Yu-Gi-Oh, and then it's like
yeah, like they will do an action immediately when
yeah,
you play it, essentially.
yeah, those are the only cards that like have like that 30% to, um, you know, maybe 40% or 50/50 text to image, but all like the actual like Digimon have all like almost always have full body arts, and they a lot of them have alternate arts, which is really cool
Yep.
as well. But yeah, in terms of like physical versus uh, digital, I mean, so digital, I I'm hoping for a digital version of the Digimon card game actually, but
Hmm.
digital in my opinion will always outweigh physical, but
Oh, interesting.
physical always feels better because you get to actually hold it. Physical has tangible value. Obviously, it fluctuates and it's like not set in stone, but I've had cards that I could have sold for 30 plus bucks, but I use them in my deck because I like collecting the cards more so than I do like making a profit off of it, right?
Hmm.
And um, also you get to meet people. Going to a physical card tournament, you get like you get to actually interact with people who are interested in the game, right? Like the only people going to these tournaments are people who are interested in the game, right? So you already have a point of interest. It's easy to talk and get a conversation started, right? Um, like literally, the first question you can always ask is, "What deck are you running?" Right? And it immediately can start conversation. Um,
Nice.
yeah, and then so I think like those are the pros. Cons, there's it's not as easy to always play when you want. It's not, hey, let me just go get on my DS and run a simulator, right? Um, Two, depending on like how the game monetizes, but I really like the old Yu-Gi-Oh monetization is where I pay $60 for a game, I can grind coins in the game and buy packs. Uh, so if the game's like that, it's free to play, right? Or you pay once and you get really
Shout
all the
out to my
cards.
cat running in the background. You can see.
Yeah, and so I think digital is by far the superior version to the physical, but I think physical feels way better and it's nicer to look at. And depending on like what your objective is for, um, you know, that thing, because people have hobbies and also people like collector's items, right? Like
Yeah.
there are a lot of people who collect, comics and stuff and don't necessarily read the comics, right? Um, same thing here. Depends on what you want out of the card game. But if it's to play, digital will, in my opinion, be always superior.
Yeah, I think like physical gaming experiences, whether it's like local co-op or physical trading card games or board games, like they will almost always have that special sauce that's like
Yeah.
interacting with people.
Hmm.
Maybe it takes a little bit more effort and energy to like get out and do it, but when you can, I think usually your experiences will be better rather than not.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts before we transition to our next topic?
Um, no, I think we're good. I mean, I could talk about this game actually like a lot, but uh, you know, I would say for anybody that's interested, super easy and super cheap to get into. Like I said, it's like $40 if you want a competitive deck. If you just want to play with friends, buy two starter packs. It's like $20, maybe 30, depending on where you live. Uh, and you can play, right? That's all it takes.
Yeah, I actually have like a New Year's resolution. It's coming up to build a deck because I have a ton of cards, but
Mm,
I'm missing a few for competitive decks. So yeah, I'm hoping to go out and try playing playing in person because I've never played a trading card game in person. With that being said, you mentioned it a bit earlier, and so for the rest of the episode, we wanted to talk about some of the Digimon games we played and enjoyed. You mentioned your DS, Jay, playing Digimon on your DS. We probably should have started with this, but Digimon has its roots in being a virtual pet simulator, and so it's interesting because Digimon games are in the same. Usually, people group it in the same genre of like Pokemon, like monster collecting genre, like
yeah.
Pokemon. Um, but the Digimon games have really never. I feel like they've never really found their like solid, um, like what they want to do. They've like never really settled on a formula. They've experimented a lot more with different things that you never would see Pokemon do. And so let's start off with Jay. What are some of your highlights of the Digimon games that you played?
Yeah, and we can go back and forth if you want, but my biggest highlight is probably Digimon World Dusk. There's its counterpart, part Dawn, um, but I played
for the
actually.
for the Nintendo DS, right?
Yeah. I ended up um, playing Dusk, um, but yeah, uh, I like I, I I see a lot of similarities, but I really like the niche they sort of carved out, and they really stuck to their like gimmicks. And they did add some when necessary. I think like one of the really big drawings to the Digimon games, for me anyways, is uh, the scaling of it. So just like Pokemon, usually Digimon have like a level cap, and they digivolve at certain levels. Sometimes certain stats, attributes are needed, right? And they even have different lines from one single Digimon. So like it can digivolve into three different things, and then that thing can digivolve into three different things. Um,
Right.
and it feels like better scaling because a lot of Digimon start at baby, then it goes rookie, then champion, ultimate, mega, and then if there's like a one above that, sometimes they have it. So it's usually like a alternate version. So the most famous one is Omnimon, which is a mixture of War Greymon and Metal
You got
Garurumon.
to paint a picture for our audience. What does a
Uh,
Omnimon look like, Jay?
man,
Do your
this it,
best.
yeah. So imagine uh uh a knight in full armor, and
Okay.
the head is like a little bit smaller than like or maybe human sized, but the body's like larger than average, and
Okay.
it one of its hands uh it has Metal Garurumon's head, so it has a wolf's head that shoots stuff, and then its other arm is a blade, which is
So
Wargreymmon's blade.
so just imagine LeBron James in a full set of armor with kind of like a wolf monster uh, head on one hand and like a sword in another hand.
Yeah, exactly.
As the hand, he's not wielding them; they are his hands.
Yeah, exactly. But again, it's much cooler if you look it up. Um, and and so yeah,
I think I think the LeBron James picture we painted is pretty cool, though.
I agree. I definitely agree. And those two fuse together, and they make one more, right? So the line continues. And then there's some that just have like a burst mode. So like it's like, hey, War Greymon, and then War Greymon burst mode. Um, and it really scales better. Whereas like in Pokemon, you get your Pokemon, it evolves at level 16, and then 32, and then nothing for 70 levels. You know, so I really like that. And then they do have some other small gimmicks, but yeah.
There's also been like the current trend in Pokemon where, for starters, the evolution for the third gen, you
Mhm,
see, for the third evolution, you see in early generations of Pokemon, they evolve into beasts.
mhm.
And then in recent generations, they evolve into humanoid figures. And so
Okay.
that's been like, I've seen that's been contentious. I'm not, I like enjoy the beasts more than the humanoid figures,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's like one thing with Pokemon, and I definitely agree. I think the evolutions, like the top end of Digimon, are
Mhm.
very cool. They also have like more liberty to like be. They're generally more creative, and you'll see a lot of things in Digimon that you won't see in Pokemon. But to be fair, vice versa.
Yeah, and something that they do that's like helpful because they don't need to regenerate sprites every time is one Digimon evolves a lot of times into like a like large pool of Digimon. So like Agumon, which is probably the most well-known Digimon, digivolves into like four different things most of the
Is
time. Like
Agumon the Pikachu of Digimon?
yeah, yeah, and
I could see that.
yeah, and he has like from games I've played, he has the option to digivolve into four different kind of Digimon, um, and then those can expand, right? And so it's
Yeah, so there are
helpful
like
when
different starter Digimons and like trees that can converge onto the same path. So like,
yeah,
uh, so even though you have like a Agumon, you can have a completely separate Digimon at the same level, but they can usually converge onto the same tree.
yeah, exactly. And then um, sometimes they are specific, but yeah. Sorry to go back to the original point. It's Digimon World Dusk. I really liked the gameplay. It was a bit grindy, but it was fun. I enjoyed and a really big mechanic of Digimon because of the show is Digivolving. So it's like, oh, you
Mm.
Digivolved, and then you have to go de-Digivolve to get a higher level cap in that game. That's like one view of it. In other games, it's like you Digivolve during combat, and however they introduce the gimmick. But usually, de-Digivolving is involved in the gimmick of the game. But yeah, what about you, Justin?
Um, One quick point is that the if people have not seen it, you should look up screenshots of Digimon World Dust for the DS because the pixel art in that game is so cool.
It
It is a
is.
2D pixel art game, and they do such a good job for the pixel art. It's like hard to call it underrated because I think anybody who takes a look at it who likes pixel art will just become a fan immediately. Um, for the games I played, it's pretty interesting. I played There's a game I played a long time ago as a kid, and it was Digimon World 4.
Mm,
And I alluded to this before, but Digimon has tried a lot of different takes on the formula.
mm,
When you imagine monster collecting genre, I think Pokemon has set the formula for the what comes to mind. In
yeah.
that you are a person who has a team of monsters, and you go around and you play in turn-based battles. For Digimon, the first one of the first games that people like to point to is Digimon World 1.
Mhm.
It is more of a pet simulator. It's 3D. There's like a story. You walk around and you train your Digimon. You have them like punch a bag repeatedly, and they have needs. You have to feed them. You have to take them to a bathroom so they can poop. And then it's a really weird setup for Digimon World 1. In that you're transported. It's kind of an isekai. The main character is transported into a virtual world,
Yeah.
and they are asked to rebuild the Digimon village. And the battles are not turn based; they happen in real time, and you're like trying to command your Digimon what to do. At the same time, there are games like the one which I played as a kid, which is Digimon World 4, I believe, for the GameCube. And that was an ARPG. Even though it's in the same series, it's completely different. You play as a Digimon, and you are like fighting with weapons and everything. I'm pretty sure it was like panned critically, as in it was a terrible game. But that was my first Digimon experience. I And then the games that you mentioned, Jay, Digimon Dusk, that plays out more like a traditional JRPG. It's
Yeah.
closer to the Pokemon formula in that you have a team that you train, and
Mhm.
the battles play out in turn-based fashion. And so for the games that I played, to kind of go back to that, there was Digimon World 4 that I played. I think it's kind of a cursed game. I played Cyber Sleuth
Yeah.
at some
Oh,
point.
that one was good. I enjoyed it. Or
So,
I played New Order, the one that's after that one. But
oh,
yeah.
I think that's Hacker's Memory.
Yeah. I played
Hacker's
that
Memory,
one.
yeah, yeah. So the Cyber Sleuth goes back to kind of riffing off the monster collecting genre a bit more, in that you have a team that you train, and then the battles go out in turn-based fashion. There's definitely more of a Digimon unique riff in that there's this like notion of you are a digital detective and you go into a digital world and you need to save the world. Slightly different from the humble beginnings of a Pokemon game. I do not like it. I think there's like too much of the game not respecting my time. I think the gameplay is really cool, and
Yeah.
there's like a really great foundation there.
Mm,
But the characters are like grating to me. The color palette of the main character is offensive to me. It's like
yeah.
really red and yellow and like in your face. And I did not really like too many of the characters. And I was like going through it, and I'm like, okay, I kind of want to beat this game. I'm like approaching the end,
Yeah.
and this NPC is like, hey, here's a really important main story quest. The AC is broken in the mall. Go fix it. And I was like, oh my god, I thought I was gonna save the world and be done. Now I have to go fix this AC that'll take like 30 minutes of just like random encounter. Yeah, so not my favorite game. I think the gameplay is great, and from what I've seen online, most people will ignore the story because the story is like mid to okay.
Yeah.
Um, but the gameplay is really great. And so yeah, I that kind of soured me on like trying the sequel, but I'm pretty sure it's like an okay game as well, possibly better.
From what I've seen for reviews, I think it's like universally people think it's better. I think it's just like but it does feel like the same game
Yeah,
to a certain
and
degree.
the thing with Cyber Sleuth is if you look up, hey, what Digimon game should I start with? Like I said, there's so many different kinds of Digimon games. They all try different things. People
Yeah.
will recommend Cyber Sleuth. And so
Yeah.
me seeing that, I will be like, okay, I don't trust this person's opinion on the internet. What am I doing on the internet? I should not be trusting people's opinions on the internet. But it is a solid game if you're not
Yeah.
someone who like cares too much about story, or like can ignore a story, feeling like you're wasting your time for the sake of like some fun gameplay, digivolving, splicing them to make like a sick Digimon at the end
Yeah.
of it.
Uh,
I have gone back a little bit to play Digimon World One.
Okay.
I've been emulating that. That's been interesting. So um, it's surprisingly not too dated, but it's definitely a little bit cryptic because you're running around raising a Digimon, and they don't really
Okay.
tell you what to do. But it's like it's fascinating being lost. I think it's an interesting experience for sure.
You know what's funny? I think this would be a great topic for us to discuss at a later date, but
Sure.
like how games like have changed because now everything's online, right? Like if you ever have a question, Google. But back when we bought games, like sometimes it came with a man. Like, do you remember buying a game and then opening up the game like box and
Oh
having
yeah.
a reading the manual before you got home?
Oh
Because
yeah. Always.
yeah, or like I know Pokemon. I really wanted it when I was a kid, but my mom never bought it for me. Was like every
That's
Pokemon
messed up
game
of your
came with a
mom.
manual, or a big book that told you all the locations of every Pokemon and like how to find them and where to go and how to continue the story. It was basically a giant walkthrough, but
Right.
booklet form. Um, Now those are all online, but uh, you know how you're talking about Digimon trying different stuff. Uh,
Yep.
Recently, if anybody has been keeping up with games, Digimon also tried a visual novel, Digimon Survive, that uh, didn't go over so well. Um, Funny enough, me and my girlfriend played it together. We just like made decisions together. We didn't finish it, um, but honestly, the characters are just so detestable. Like they are not enjoyable characters and
Oh,
the
interesting.
the story doesn't like the issue is it's a visual novel so it's like 70% 80% story 20% gameplay but I think
And the gameplay is like a Fire Emblem s
yeah
turn-based tactics where you're moving on a grid,
yeah
and there are some level of stats and everything, and like you have your Digimon attack,
yeah and like if you attack from the side back you get whatever
but
right but
emphasis on the visual novel, right? It's more
yes
visual novel than anything else.
yes but the gameplay is actually so fun. I wish there was more of it. Like
Uh,
literally, I want more gameplay so bad because I was looking forward to a Digimon game. I thought Survive would be a combat game, and it ended up being a visual novel, and that was tragic. And yeah, so that's like I played it, wasn't the greatest, but they are coming up with some re-releases. Digimon World Next Order um, on the Switch, or I don't know if it's a re-release or is it a successor.
it is. I think they're touching a very small amount of it. I think it might just be a re-release, but I think they're changing a small amount of things for it. It is a sequel to Digimon World One, or more of a successor, but it like technically takes place after. And I think it originally came out for the PS4, and it's going to release in 2023 for PC and Switch, I believe. So
Will you be
I'm looking
getting it?
forward to that. I think so. I'm actually interested in Digimon Survive. I'm a little worried if I don't like the story, I'm just going to feel like my time is being wasted. I do feel like there's a little bit of like people expected a Digimon game,
Hmm.
but Digimon Survive prioritizes being a visual novel, like
Yeah.
first and foremost. So I think the expectations threw off a lot of people in its critical reception. But yeah, I am like I haven't played. I think overall I haven't played too many Digimon games, but it's worth going back and seeing which ones I can play and like playing through a few of them.
Yeah, I've played through a few of them, and I would say they're pretty good. And the card games, the physical card game, actually, um, a lot of their backgrounds because they have like six different types of Agumon, or not types, but versions of Agumon. Like,
Hmm.
so you could technically have like a deck with like, you know, six different Agumon, right? Because that like they're of
Sounds like my
different
kind of deck.
yeah, they're different. Like they do different stuff, but they all have like a different background, and sometimes a lot of the time, actually, the backgrounds pay homage to something. And every single game, I'm pretty sure, is referenced in the card game in some way or another. Some more than others, obviously. And even the show is referenced. Like some of the cards will have like background scenes that clearly, um, like is a scene from the TV show. So
Mhm.
that's pretty cool. And I think the games, you know, do fall like some games follow pattern, but I do think overall, like Digimon did branch out and attempt stuff, and I think they were successful t- to a decent degree, in my opinion.
It it's definitely settled in a niche. I think it should definitely be celebrated for the fact that it's still around and it brings in a lot of money, but it is living in the shadow of Pokemon. It tends to get lumped in the same monster collecting genre,
Yeah.
but it's always had this underdog feel to it, and it's survived for this long, and they're still pumping out stuff. It's an exciting time to be a Digimon fan, I think, because like you mentioned, they're doing a few releases and potentially some new stuff coming down the pipeline. And the Digimon trading card game is going pretty strong right now. I think it's pretty popular.
Yeah, I don't know how popular it is, but I know that they have it in enough stores and they do sell some of their gift boxes at Target. So they were able to get into stores, right? Like big name stores like Target. So I think they're doing all right. Um, but for the most part, I would say it's harder to find. Like the card store near me doesn't sell Digimon cards,
Right.
even though they have like Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Pokemon, but I think that's really it. So, but they're smaller. If you go to any real big card store, they'll have it. And then they also have a lot of online, like everything's online nowadays too. So it's like not hard to get it. Um,
Sure.
but yeah, um,
Any last thoughts, Jay, on Digimon?
uh, honestly, mad excited for the new game. They haven't had a good game in a while, in my opinion. I'm really hoping it's decent, and that Digimon like survives for quite a bit longer, right? Because I like the series, I'm a big fan. Yeah,
Even though doesn't like Digimon Survive, he does hope that Digimon survives. And with that, I think that's the end for that topic. We are heading towards the end of the episode. We have one housekeeping item. This episode is going to be the last episode of season one. We have a few ideas for improving the podcast in the works, and so we want to take some time off to recharge, work on those production ideas. Jay is maybe going to do a crazy production boot camp in the Himalaya Mountains and come back with some crazy Digimon effects that he can
yeah,
spice up our podcast recordings with next year. And so TBD on when we're going to come back, probably not too long, early in the first quarter of the year. But yeah, we're going to end our first season. We had a lot of fun recording. We're going to keep doing this, keep improving. And with that, we're going to ask the question of the episode, which is, what is your favorite Digimon? You want to hit us with the outro, Jay?
yeah. Let us know your response on Twitter at SKGPod, or if you're listening on YouTube, leave a comment in the video and let us know your thoughts. I'm Jay,
And I'm Justin.
and thanks for listening to Some Kind of Game Season 1. Bye, all.
Bye bye.